take projection.
Bama throws the home run to Estrada. Run clock, 2-1, layup good, 1.9 to go. Tigers inbounded, clock hits 0, and let's get out of here and go to the Final Four.
Welcome to Taking on Sports. I am TD, that is Greg, and that was Chris Stewart's call of Alabama going to the Final fucking Four. Greg, is this real or is this a dream
I don't
still?
know. I don't know. Yeah, I woke up this morning, had to check to make sure we indeed did it. Because, man, it's been a long time coming.
A long time. First Final Four in program history. A program with a solid basketball tradition.
Yeah,
Not a blue
tradition.
blood, but
No.
plenty of NCAA tournaments.
Plenty of
Before
Sweet 16s.
before Thursday, unfortunately, a tradition of losing in the Sweet 16. Before they went over Carolina 1-9, and Sweet 16 is the worst record of any team that have been there at least 10 times. But they vanquished the Tar Heels on Thursday night, caught Clemson last night, and just after an abysmal start, it looking like maybe they were just gassed out. The magic had run out. The three started dropping. Mark Sears turned it on. Jaron Stevenson just talk about a breakout performance. The defense, what we talked about all year long, the defense needed to just step it up and just play good. They didn't have to be great. They were just good enough, and they turned up the intensity, and it's unbelievable. We were just talking about it before we started recording, and you said, it's been a long time coming. It doesn't feel real. You mentioned getting emotional. I did the same thing. My wife was looking at me like I was crazy, and I just couldn't explain what it means.
Yeah.
As not just an Alabama fan, but someone who's really rooted for Alabama basketball.
Right.
And it's crazy
I
after
mean,
last year.
it's a lot of. I mean, it's a lot of Alabama football fans. I mean, obviously, but yeah, I mean, the basketball program, I mean, it's, it doesn't have the same appeal to the masses of even Alabama fans. But man, we've been through the fire many times as fans, seen the ups and downs plenty, and man, it's just when you go through so much, so many ups and downs, and so many hopes, and uh, it just feels that much better when you finally break through. I mean, it's just an amazing feeling. So, finally broken through.
Yeah.
I mean, there's been some epic teams at Alabama. I mean, like we were talking about, I mean, we're not a blue blood, but I mean, we're not just out of nowhere either. I mean, we've had great program. I mean, we've had good teams. We've had great players come through. I mean, we've had, Latrell Sprewell, Robert Worry. I mean, they ran into the Sweet 16. We've witnessed our own Sweet 16 and Elite Eight when we were in college. And, at that point, we were what? I mean, I was what, 20? Yeah, I mean, I was 20, 40 now. So yeah, 20 years. So, and at that point, it was awesome, but I don't think we appreciate it as much as we do now because who knew it would take another 20 years before we'd even see that opportunity again?
Exactly. You kind of take those things for granted almost.
Yeah. I mean, it was
Even
awesome, but
yeah. And even though that we know that we don't have the best program in the country, you think, it was awesome, and especially as an 8 seed or whatever we were back then. But it's just insane after last year with Brandon Miller, maybe one of the better teams in program history, and like you said before, we started an easy path, easier path. There's no easy path in this tournament.
No, it never is. But on paper, I mean,
Yeah.
San Diego State, Creighton. I mean, on paper, man, that team last year was one of a kind. Just with how they ran through the regular season, the SEC tournament. Brandon Miller, arguably probably one of the better one years in Alabama history. But stat wise, and we went in the draft and all, but yeah, but finally put it together. And with this team, that's even the crazier thing because there's been so many ups and downs. with this team. We've talked about it. Man, if they could just put it together, we know it's there. But what can they do it? Even going into the NCAA tournament, we're like, we don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know who's going to show up. Coach was talking about, are these guys tough enough? Do they want it enough? And we're like, well, it's not how you want to go into the NCAA tournament. But obviously, when Coach Oates told them going after that Florida loss and going into that first round, I mean, obviously they ate it up because they completely different team as far as on the defensive side of the ball. And just the
Yeah.
effort and just the passion they return. We saw that a lot, I thought, in January, February, and most of February. Then we kind of lost it after that Tennessee game. We kind of lost it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, that was kind of like, well, we ran into a team that maybe we gave it our best and we didn't come out. We were like, wow. And we, got our momentum back at the beautiful time of the year. I mean,
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's what March is all about, is momentum. And,
yeah.
I mentioned, and I think that's what makes it so special too.
Hmm.
We mentioned it's never guaranteed, even for the Blue Bloods. I mean, look at
Yeah.
Kentucky right now,
Yeah.
it's not easy to get
No.
here. And the NCAA tournament is such a unique thing that you get to the semifinals, you're not even a title, and it means so much,
Right.
it's that's where it differentiates from like even football and the old bowl
Yeah.
system, the playoff, whatever it is. It's one game and it's done. It's it's special, but it's a different kind of special. This is,
Right. This
you
is,
go through, you have that first weekend, all that excitement, and
yeah.
the promise, and then that second weekend is when it gets real, and that it's
Yeah.
the Final Four is 2 wins away,
Right.
and then
Yeah.
it happens, and you're just kind of stunned. And
Yeah.
you mentioned, yeah, we've been, uh, I guess your fandom, I assume, started like when you started attending the college, kind of
Well, a little bit before,
a little before, yeah.
when I knew I was going to Alabama. I knew Robert Warren pretty well. I had watched tape and well, on YouTube, and then, of course, it's not as prevalent as what it is now, of course. But I knew that the program history. But I think when I really started watching, probably when I knew I was going to Alabama, I think the end of my junior year. And my senior year, Alabama had an epic team.
Hmm.
At that point, it was 01, 02. They were a 2 seed.
Two
And I
seed,
really,
yep.
and I love Rock Bizarre
Hmm.
and Gerald Wallace. I mean, they were so much fun to watch. And,
Big man, Irwin Dudley down low. Yeah,
Irvin Dudley. I mean, that was a squad. And they were, just electric with a highlight reel. But yeah, I mean, I think that's what I was really like, man. And they dropped in the 32. Didn't
yeah.
even make it out the first weekend.
Second round loss to Kent State, who I think was the
Kent
10
State,
seed. Yeah,
who went on a run because I think they went to the Elite Eight that year, if I'm not
I,
mistaken.
I believe so, but still, yeah, disappointing.
And you're like, what in the world?
Especially at that point, that was the year the regular season SEC champs. Of course, that
Yeah.
famous shot, Antoine Petway hit it to beat
Hmm.
Florida in Tuscaloosa on the last day of the regular season, won the SEC regular season title, earned a 2 seed.
Hmm.
I remember talking with a buddy of mine in school, and he was talking about, man, Alabama's the quietest 2 seed ever. They might make some noise. And then, like you said, that didn't even make it out the first weekend. And that was kind of Alabama basketball there. Our freshman year, we made it to number one in the country around Christmas time, and then we ended up
Yeah.
at a
Lost,
9 seed in the tournament.
lost to Utah. And
Yeah. And then
we
it
got
just
smoked by Utah, and then it never really hit. Yeah,
never
we
recovered
lost
from
to,
there. Yeah.
what was it, Indiana?
Indiana and
What was it, Tom?
Tom Cloverdale, whatever his name was. Yeah. Hated that man.
Oh,
But
yeah.
yeah, and that's how. Yeah, mine. If I haven't been a basketball fan as long as football, my football memories go way back.
Hmm.
My first basketball memories I've been trying to think about was probably '94, because if I remember, as a first year, I did a bracket. My mom, we clipped it out the newspaper,
Mm-hmm.
did our brackets, and Alabama was like an 8 seed. We lost in the second round to Purdue and Glenn Robinson. Should have, not
Yeah,
disappointing. It sucks to see your team lose, but you look
but
back on
I
it
mean
and
that was a
yeah,
good Purdue team.
a very good Purdue team. And then the next year is when it really clicked for me. We were a 5 seed, that Antonio McDyess team. Um,
He was a beast that
a beast, and
during
they
the
actually
college.
played their first round game, their first weekend. They were actually in Baltimore.
Yeah.
So my dad took me. We had a big 5-12 game against Penn. Went to overtime, and in overtime, McDyess just took over. And
Mhm.
I could be making this up in my head, but I feel like we outscored them like 10-0 in overtime or something, and
Nice.
just routed them. But and then lost in the second round to Big Country Bryant Reeves.
Mm. They went on to the Final Four that year,
They
if I'm
did,
not
yeah.
mistaken.
They might
That
even
was the
made the
year
title
UCLA.
game. Yeah.
Oh no, that was yeah. No, they lost to UCLA, I
Was it?
believe.
Yeah. Yeah.
UCLA, Arkansas was the national title.
That's
So
right. Yeah,
Arkansas was trying to
Arkansas.
repeat.
Yeah. Yeah, Arkansas had a chance to go back.
Yeah,
But yeah, that's how far back. So that's
yeah,
30 years
yeah,
now.
yeah, yeah,
Just like so close, getting that
yeah.
fever in you, remembering when Alabama upset Chris Porter and Auburn, one of the better Auburn teams ever.
Yeah.
Uh just like you mentioned, that Rod Gazard, that kind of showy, that fun team.
And
It
that was and that was
never really
another
getting to
thing
see him.
too.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, because I was like, man, I would love to see Rogers Arden. Of course, they all left after that season.
Hmm.
It's been so fun
Yeah.
to see that, and that's the other thing too. We've talked about playing. I've heard other Alabama basketball fans talk about it. What if we had had a better coach during that time period?
Oh man, I know. Because yeah, that was one of our things. Even though look, Mark Godfrey did a lot of great things for the program. Went to like what 4 or 5 straight tournaments.
Yeah, but
The
I
Elite
feel
Eight
like
run. Yeah,
we
he was a
under.
solid recruiter, but we never really. It felt like talent never really got better under him.
No.
And they'd have spurts, like remember Jamario
Mhm.
Davison dropping like 33 in Rupp
Yeah,
Arena.
right.
But then he never scored more than like 18 again.
No,
You know, and that
yeah,
was just kind of that way, like in
yeah.
between that and that uh game against Penn I mentioned, I think we made like an NIT
Hmm.
final and lost. And
Yeah.
then after Godfrey's time ran out, we hired Anthony Grant, and hopes were
He
high
got
again, and
yeah.
it never
Yeah, no,
took. And then
he went to the NIT final one year. I think lost to like Wichita State,
Wichita
and then
State, yep.
we did go to the tournament the next year and lost to Creighton in the first round, and then
Hmm.
never
And
just not.
yeah.
And he even recruited well,
Hmm.
but a lot of weird things happened with that. I remember there's a big man that got like kidnapping charges and weird stuff
Yeah.
happened with some of his recruits, and the defense was always elite, but that offense was terrible. We
Yeah,
couldn't score
yeah.
to save our
Yeah,
lives.
Granskett ball just never clicked in Tuscaloosa. Then we had
No.
Avery Johnson, and I appreciate
And then
Nate
that was
Oats. Nate Oats. I don't know if you caught this in one of his post games. Actually, gave props to Avery Johnson for the recruiting he did and the players that he brought in, because he really was
mhm,
one of the first guys to really start bringing in out of
yeah,
state talent.
yeah, big names.
Uh huh.
He brought Colin Sexton in,
Hmm.
very talented. And then Colin won us a game there. We were in the tournament under Avery, with 18 there. Got the first round win against what I believe was La Tech. And we ran into a buzzsaw in Villanova, but Villanova destroyed everybody in that tournament. That was one of the more dominant runs of the NCAA tournament. But
Hmm.
just and I don't even know what really happened. Like it's just like people like Avery. I don't know what happened with Avery. I love Avery. He's a great guy.
Hmm.
I don't know. They just didn't buy in like they thought they would. Like there were times you saw it, and then I don't know what happened at that
No,
time.
yeah, it's like you see Anthony Grant now, it's clicking and what Dayton, right?
At
That's where he's
Dayton,
coaching.
yeah.
Avery Johnson, a great commentator. It's a shame. I guess
Hmm.
maybe he
He
can't be
knows
in
the
our
game so
games.
well.
Yeah. Oh, he's
Yeah.
great. He even mentioned yeah, I think it was on the first round games, and it was got a little testy, and there was a shot of one of the assistants holding back all the guys on the bench from running off, and he mentioned that
Hmm.
5-on-3 game we played against Minnesota. Uh,
Yeah.
Having to finish game with only 3 players. I wish he had
Right.
mentioned more that Colin Sexton damn near won that game for us,
He did almost win
even
that
down
game.
2 people.
Yeah. He put on a. That's when we knew Colin Sexton was gonna be
But
a
yeah,
special
all of
player.
special, yeah, all of that led up to Greg Byrne taking a shot on Nate Oats, a guy from Buffalo. A lot of
Yeah.
people were like question the decision if he was right, and
Hmm.
look at us now. We've what
What,
4 tournament appearances in 5 years,
four
three Sweet
tournaments.
16s, two
Yeah.
SEC titles, two SEC tourney titles, a 1 seed,
Hmm.
uh, a top what? And Brandon Miller was the number 2 pick.
Yeah.
And
And
now the first Final Four in school history. And
it's
again,
amazing.
Nate Oats deserves every Coach of the Year vote.
Oh man.
Not only
I mean,
he lost 3 assistants, he
yeah.
lost basically Brandon Miller, and then all of these great players. Like the whole team. I think only 3 players
Yeah.
stayed from last
And
year,
yeah. And yeah. I mean, yeah,
and
Brandon Miller, and then the worst. I mean, we thought, man, we were always saying, what if Betty Yako would stay? Man, I wish Betty
mhm.
Yako would have stayed.
or
Um,
Noah
yeah,
Clowney, someone like
yeah,
that. But
yeah, yeah.
yeah, which leads into let's start talking more about these past games. But you cannot say enough about Pringle, man, Nick Pringle.
Nick
The
Pringle.
effort, suspended twice this year for attitude
Yeah.
problems. He
But
wasn't
since that
even.
second suspension, he's
Uh
been a
huh.
different guy for the
And then,
most part.
there was another weird thing where he wasn't on the team flight to Spokane, had to get his
Yeah,
own way out there,
yeah.
and
And you're like,
he
oh,
did, yeah, and because you knew we need him, we need inside. You need an
oh,
inside guy
we
in
needed
March,
somebody. Yeah,
and he is just his hustle. Last night against Clemson, some of those just jump balls. We were getting 2 or 3 offensive rebounds in one possession,
yeah.
hustling the loose balls, tipping balls back to guys. Just
Hmm.
all the props in the
And
world to Nick Pringle,
getting his
man.
got his buckets, and
Hmm.
for the most part, was clutch from the free throw line as well.
Hmm.
I mean,
And drew so many fouls. He's the reason that
yeah,
their guy PJ Hall fouled out. It was Nick Pringle.
exactly.
He
Yeah,
drew so many fouls. We mentioned
just
Jaron Stevenson, a breakout game for the freshman. He
oh
kind of
man,
looked like the
just
moment might be too big for him against Carolina,
yeah,
playing his hometown team. And he
right.
even started off shaky last night, and then he got stroking. He was really the one that kickstarted us, I think.
Yeah,
He hit
he
a
really
couple of
did.
shots. Yeah.
Hmm.
Um,
And you got to think, I mean, he's technically should have been a senior in high school this year,
mm-hmm.
and he, came in early and, took it to a different level. I mean, that's hard to do. I mean, from a high school level, even in a big basketball state like North Carolina. I mean, to go that to Division 1 in the SEC. I mean, a year early. I mean, it's just completely changing game. So yeah, I mean, but man, I mean, he arrived last night, and yeah, you're excited to see what the future brings for him because
Mm-hmm.
you'd have to think last night. I mean, that changes probably his whole perspective on what he could be as a player. On
Uh,
that level in the Elite 8. Against the, Clemson, not a sexy basketball name school, of course, and everybody's thinking, what? There should be some on the football field. I mean, Clemson had an epic run to get to where they were. I mean, you
mm-hmm.
look in that first round, a lot of people, I was sure of it. A lot of people, didn't even think they would get out that first round matchup with New Mexico. They
I,
blew out New Mexico.
mm-hmm.
And New Mexico came into the thing tournament having won the Mountain West there. Blew them out the water. I mean, it wasn't even a game at all. Then I forget, who did they play in the 32 would have been.
Not Baylor, was that?
Yeah, it was
Yeah, it
Baylor.
was Baylor.
Yeah,
Baylor was his
the
32.
Baylor. I
Yeah.
mean, a nice Baylor team. I mean, not the best Baylor team, but I mean, I didn't think that they'd be Baylor. Beat Baylor, handled Arizona. I mean, they were on the epic run of their own. I mean, this was a team that similar in the fact that they've had some okay basketball, but I hadn't been to that level of the Elite Eight since '80. So I mean, they were in that same similar boat. I mean, getting to that level was completely new. There was a back and forth event last night. So I mean, both teams to get to where both them and us, not a lot of expectations going into the tournament, and if man, just that
Eh,
that was your out of that bracket with North Carolina, and everybody expected the North Carolina, Arizona,
mhm.
Elite Eight, and we got
Yeah,
Bama, Clemson.
right. And yeah, you mentioned that they also program never made the Final Four, and that puts an added pressure on the game. Even if those kids don't grow up fans of the program,
Yeah,
it's the weight of the whole program is on you because
it's on you.
yeah, and
It
for two
doesn't happen every
teams,
day.
yeah, and it's one thing for a team that's never made it to play. If we had played Arizona, Arizona's been there, they've won national titles. It's
Hmm.
different. But when you're playing another team that's trying to make their
Also in
first
the
ever
same
Final
boat.
Four, yeah,
Yeah.
it's just this that game was so tense, and that's how I felt.
Hmm.
My wife made dinner and brought it out. I just put the bowl on the side table. I was like, I don't know if I can eat this right now. Like, I can't.
Yeah.
It's just too.
And then the way the game started, I was like, well, dang.
Yeah. Yeah. Clemson made that first half run. We mentioned Mark Sears
Yeah.
just 0 for what, like 9 to start the game, something
Yeah.
like
Oh
that.
my goodness.
The team started 1 of 13 from behind the arc, and then Stevenson hit a couple. Griffin hit one. Sears finally got
Hmm.
one, and then he just second half. It
And
was a
he just
different
took
team.
off.
Yeah. That
Yeah,
heat
he
check
just
three
took
from the
off in that second
logo.
half. Oh my goodness.
Oh man. It's amazing. And we're in, and you know what? I was texting my friends, talking with my dad. I was like, I don't care if UConn beats us by 40. We're going to
And
the
we
Final
made
Four.
it. We're
Yeah.
going to the final four. I mean, that's
Uh,
just epic in itself.
yeah.
And of course, everybody's gonna say, "Oh, North UNC, I mean, UConn's gonna beat them by 40." Who knows? I mean, of course, they've been a monster to this point, but I mean, we still, that's why you play the game. I mean, we've seen teams go into that and, not,
Hmm.
not be the same the next round. I mean, they're well coached. I mean, the way that they play is, I mean, coming into the Final Four, yeah, definitely. They came into the tournament as the best team, and they're still the best team. I mean, they absolutely blew the doors off Illinois yesterday. That 30-0 run was ridiculous.
Oh
But
man.
I mean, but that's why you play the game, though. I mean, we're there, uh, and again, we went into that Sweet 16 game. I mean, we're playing with house money. I mean, there's
Hmm.
no
Hmm.
expectations. We've reached levels that we never thought maybe imaginable. And yeah, here we are. I mean, we're just, I hope everybody just soaks it up, enjoys it, because you don't know when that next time will be. I mean, I think where Nate Oats is going, it may be sooner again than later, but you got to enjoy it. We just got to go and play our game and let the chips fall where they may. Um, and who knows? That's why we play the game.
Yeah, exactly. Especially the team that plays the style we do. You never know. We get
Yeah,
hot and hit 23
yeah,
pointers, 20, 25,
right.
whatever. Uh, and, all bets are off. Um,
Hmm.
that said, we know what we got against us. UConn has looked
Yeah,
just vicious. Um,
all season. I mean,
yeah, and especially now
they
they've
have like
turned it
what
up
three
tournament
three
time.
losses all. They even what have 3 or 4 losses on the season.
Hmm. Yeah,
Lost to the likes of Kansas and Creighton, and other than that, I mean, they've run through everybody for the most
yeah,
part. And
and it's
so,
ridiculous. You mentioned that they went on a 30-0 run yesterday against
against
a
a
a
good,
three
very
seed.
good Illinois.
Yeah, not
No,
this isn't the 116 matchup where they do that and you're like,
no,
okay, yeah, this is a 3 seed and a good Illinois team that
yeah.
if they'd
I
made the
mean,
Final Four, people would have been like, okay, like that's yeah. Uh,
yeah. I mean, they were. I mean, this is probably the best Illinois team since they went to the Final Four in '05 and lost to North Carolina in the final. But I mean, they're going a 30-0 run like that. And I mean, it was a close first half, and they just came out that second half. I'm like, not today, guys. Sorry, we're shutting it down. Yeah, but
yeah,
hey, man, anything's possible at this point. I mean, And I mean, everybody said the same about Carolina. I mean, Carolina was supposed to blow us out the water. There's no way
Hmm.
Alabama could beat Carolina. Not to, I mean, this was a Carolina team that looked like they were built for a Final Four run. I mean, their defense was great. The way they played really didn't fit us. I mean, because we've had our struggles against physical big teams, and we held our own, and we had them trying to play our game. That's what got us to that win
Hmm.
Thursday night. Is they were tired. They missed. What's his name missed that dunk at the end of the game because he was tired. I mean, we run them all up and down that court all night. That isn't the North Carolina style per se, but we forced them into our game, and that was
Hmm.
the difference.
Yeah, and same thing last night. Clemson wanted to ugly that game up, play physical. The refs kind of let them do it for the first 10 minutes or so.
Hmm.
It seemed like the calls were a little
No,
uneven, and then
yeah,
they started leveling out. We started getting
yeah.
more free throws. We mentioned Pringle drawing a lot of fouls inside on their big men, and
Hmm.
but one of the biggest things last night too was just anytime after in that second half, especially anytime Clemson made that run, we had to answer. The big point came. They hit two threes in a row, big threes. Their crowd was getting back into it, and we
And we
answered
just
each
answered
one
it.
with a three of our own.
Yeah,
And that's exactly what you got to do in these games. And
yep.
and as somebody steps up, Grant Nelson, the hero of the Carolina game.
Yeah. Especially
Eh,
with Jaron Stevenson stepping up.
yeah, and that's what you need. And Mark Sears just a steady pendulum, just
Right.
putting in work this tournament, man. One
Yeah.
of not just probably, I mean, not probably the best tournament run in school history by a player. I mean, uh,
Right.
this is one of the all time memorable runs in period in tournament history, man.
Yeah.
When it's said
I
and
mean,
done.
I mean, you look at his stats. I mean, he's put up numbers. I mean, even
Mm-hmm.
when he was quieter that second half against Carolina, I mean, he didn't score a lot in that second half. But the way he led the team,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was throwing dimes. I mean, he was just the leader out there, running. He almost had a Jay Kidd like second half there, and he
Mm-hmm.
wasn't necessarily scoring, but he was making things happen. The passes he was giving Grant Nelson, and looks inside, just what he's turned into since he came from Ohio. I mean, you know, because honestly, coming into this season, I was like, he was nice last year, but he also had Brandon Miller.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't sure. I mean, he showed signs of being a decent player, but is that going to be our guy? I was a little worried. Honestly, I was a little
Mm-hmm.
worried going into the season. That's our number one guy. I don't know.
Yeah,
Again,
you
just
and we lose not
different
just
level.
Miller, but you lose a steady hand like Javon Quinterly.
Hmm.
Even though it was probably his time to try somewhere
Yeah,
else,
it's time for him to go.
but you
I think,
lose
but
just what the guy that transferred to Arizona, Jaden Bradley.
yeah,
Uh, you lose. We
lost a lot
mentioned
of guards.
Chuck Bediaco left, Noah Clowney left, the big
Hmm.
guns. Yeah, we lost a lot of guards, and we replaced them. We
Yeah.
got we just
And then we
like,
hit up the trap. I mean, Nate did a great job in the transfer
hmm
portal, brought guys that fit. I mean, but at the same time, I mean, you bring in a lot of guys that never played ball together. Basketball is the most chemistry-driven sport. I mean,
hmm
it's only five guys, and they have to click, or it's never going to work.
yeah,
And it was up and down. Aaron Estrada, at times he's looked great. Grant Nelson has had a game. But there's just his run. They just put it together to a different level. I mean, and the other amazing thing is the last two games. I mean, I would have never thought that we would make in the Final Four and say that Latrell Wrightsell didn't play in either of the last two
oh
games. I mean,
crazy,
that's
right?
something in itself.
And we knew we
Yeah,
needed people to step up in his place, and
yeah,
but like I said, we
yeah.
got that. Grant Nelson.
We got that.
We haven't talked enough about that Thursday night
Oh
performance,
wow,
man, against
that was
Carolina.
legendary. I mean, just what it was just magical watching him down there. I mean, it was like he just knew when they threw it down there that he was going to finish.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and he was just he just put up a and probably the best comparison I could think of is in college. This what just what it was like a Kevin Love like performance when he was at
Mm-hmm.
UCLA. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
he had a couple games in the tournament when they would go to the Final Four back to back years where he just put the team on the back. They threw it down there. Westbrook would throw it down there, and he would just finish it up. Maybe not the prettiest player, but but Grant Nelson, his confidence has grown immensely. Because people thought, man, that man is soft. Sometimes, we like, you could see he was good, but yeah, he was timid at times. And like, I don't think I think, of course, a lot of people expected what we saw Thursday night was what we were going to have all season. It wasn't necessarily that, but, he had his moments of greatness, but just to and put it together, I guess, as consistently as what you would have liked. I mean, remember coming into the season, he was a SEC preseason first teamer,
Mm-hmm.
and didn't quite work out to that level. But I mean, he definitely earned his stripes through this tournament run for sure.
Yeah. But it's just great, and whatever happens next weekend in Phoenix,
Man, hey,
it,
it happens.
it doesn't
Yeah,
matter. Yeah. I
you
mean, it matters
can't, you
obviously,
can
but
never. Yeah, I mean, you want to make a great showing, but man, I think we're gonna. I don't know if we shock the world per se, but I think we're gonna show up and we're gonna make it a much better game than what, in worst case scenario, much better game than what people expect it to be at this point. Because honestly,
yeah.
the way we're playing, I don't, it doesn't have that. Like when in that '04 run, it seemed very Cinderella-ish.
Mm-hmm.
Just doesn't seem very Cinderella. I mean, this seems like, and we've said it many times. I mean, we're a talented team.
Mm-hmm.
We just have to put it together. Can we put it together? And they click. They put it together. Obviously, all those big games in November and December. We lost to Clemson and we lost to Creighton and we lost to Arizona and Purdue, and we're like, well, damn, we know we would like to got it, but obviously that stuck in their mind at some point because they learned something from those games and they put it forth at the right time, so that worked out to some extent. We learned something because that's one thing you can't say this Alabama team had any bad. We might have lost some games, but it wasn't any bad losses. It's like, why the hell did we lose to them? It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't
Yeah.
anything like that. We lost to the best of the best. I mean, we lost to a Final Four team in Zach Edey and
Yeah.
Purdue, who's also in the Final Four now. We lost to a Arizona team Sweet 16, a Creighton team Sweet 16. We lost to Tennessee, who took Purdue, Elite Eight. Florida, Kentucky. I mean, teams that probably should have gone further in the tournament than they did, of
Mm-hmm.
course. So I
Clemson,
mean, the
yeah.
losses,
Avenge that loss. Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, and what a
No.
difference in November. Clemson's kicked our ass. I
Yeah.
mean, they came into Coleman and shot like 60% for the game.
And Oates referenced this in his interviews too. Is his coaching staff, they did a great job of, Thursday night they had a great game plan for Mondo
Hmm.
Baycott and RJ Davis. I mean, RJ Davis just 0-9 from three. I think
Hmm.
that something like his first collegiate game where he didn't make at least 1 3 or something.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
crazy. And then coming in and figuring it out, and it looked like maybe Clemson had our number again early on, and the staff made
Hmm.
adjustments, especially at halftime.
Yeah.
And uh,
And,
so all props to them. And
yeah.
it, and we mentioned, how hard it is, how making the Final Four is so special because of how hard it is. But it also,
Hmm.
we mentioned everything that Oates has done since he's got here. It really kind of cements like our status that we're here as a basketball program.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah. I
this is
don't
only
think.
it's only going to help recruiting. It's only going to
Yeah.
show people that Nate Oats' style of play works. There's been criticisms of him that it doesn't, get you past the second weekend. Well,
Yeah.
it
Here we
has.
are.
And
Yeah.
like
It
you said,
can.
this is not a Cinderella run. This is a good team that, had its chemistry problems, its up and downs during the season,
Yeah.
not a good defensive team. Um,
No.
but a team that Oates said time and time again, they just had to play with intensity and they had to
Yeah.
give the effort, and they finally have bought in, and it has clicked for them, and it got us to the Final Four.
Exactly.
And they're not afraid of UConn. We can tell you that
No,
much.
they're not afraid.
And like you said, we may not win, and we're probably not. We're definitely not expected to win. And while, of course, it won't break hearts in that way to lose to a
No.
UConn. To
I
be
mean,
one of those
it'll suck.
yeah, it'll suck. You'll be disappointed because the run's over, but we're going to come out. We're going to throw our best punches at them, and hey, let's see what happens next Saturday, right? But yeah, let's talk about some of those other teams. We mentioned UConn. They're 30-0. I mean, there's not much else you can say about them.
No, they're just
They're
they are who they are. I mean, they're
a,
a
a
dominant
buzzsaw.
team,
Yeah.
and honestly, probably just historically wise, when you look at college basketball, probably the most underappreciated blue blood
Mm-hmm.
of our time. I
Uh,
mean, of course, we always talk about the Carolinas, the Kansas, the Dukes, Kentucky. But UConn, I mean, you gotta look at some of what they've done. I mean, their first title in '99 with Jim Boeheim. I mean, they played probably on paper one of the best Duke teams ever. Beat them in the national title, a game
mm-hmm.
that nobody really thought they had a chance. And
Yeah, no.
with Elton Brand, Trajan Langdon, I mean, that was a legendary Duke
A,
squad, and
a
beat them in the
one
national
loss Duke.
title.
Yeah, a one loss Duke
Yeah,
team before that.
yeah. We lost in like November, I think, to Cincinnati or something.
It was. I think it was.
Um,
It was Cincinnati and the that tournament
Maui.
that used to be. Was it Maui? I actually thought it was the tournament that used to be in Anchorage.
You're right. I think
Yeah,
you're right.
it
Yeah,
was one of those holiday tournaments, and
yeah.
undefeated through ACC play. You mentioned all those great players on that team, uh, and Duke was running through people in that tournament too, and
Man, yeah.
that
And
UConn
then
team
nobody,
just
Khalid El-Amin,
that
who was
motherfucker.
it, Jake Roscoe. I mean, that
Uh-huh.
was a squad.
Yeah, and Jim
And then they
Calhoun, not Bayham. Yeah.
Richard Hamilton was on that team too, I believe.
Yep. Oh, rip.
Was it?
But yeah, you're
And
right.
then
UConn is a newer blue blood because they really only they started their
you
history
know,
kind of around '90 is
li-
when they had that
yeah,
first big win for
yeah.
them.
Jim Calhoun was kind of like the catalyst of that program. I
Hmm.
mean, what he did even before. He was always the runner up. He never got the big win for a while there. I mean, he was bringing in people, and he just took it. Just what they've done. I mean, '04. We ran into them in that Elite Eight. I mean,
Hmm.
they ran through
Hmm.
everybody. With the Mika '04, I mean, they ran through everybody that tournament. Then they cooled off for a little bit there at the end of Jim Boeheim. Well, not sorry, Jim Calhoun's. He won again in '11.
Hmm.
With the epic Kimball Walker run to the Big East tournament and then the NCAA tournament. A little tough for that route, but and then they after that, then they won again at 14 with Shabazz Napier's amazing run.
Hmm.
To the tournament. I think they were like a 7 or 8 seed. I mean, they weren't expected to get what they did, and they beat Kentucky in 14. And they won last year. I mean, they're definitely on that blue blood level. Just amazing what they've done over the last 30 years on the hardwood. So
Yeah. Um, yeah, and they're trying to become the first back-to-back champ since Florida did it in
since
'06,
Florida,
'07.
yeah.
Yeah.
And they're actually the first team to make a Final Four in back-to-back seat. They won the title to even make it back to a Final Four since then.
Hmm.
So it's not just going back to back. No one's even made a Final Four after winning a title since Florida until last night. So that just tells you that it's not easy to do.
No,
Not
it's
easy at all.
not easy at all. And then on the other side, you mentioned Purdue. They're in a tough one earlier today
Hmm.
over Tennessee, a back and forth game.
Man, that was a great game.
Yeah,
But
it looked for a while like Tennessee might have had their number. Purdue went cold, and it was a game of runs.
Mm-hmm.
Each team made a bunch of
No,
runs, and Purdue pulled it out. And the thing with them is that free throw advantage they get.
man. Yeah,
They
they gotta give
average,
you again.
and
You can't touch them.
teams got to figure out how to mitigate that. They got to figure out how to
Yeah.
get him in foul trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, because that's the key
but
to beating Purdue this year. Because I
mhm,
mean, they got an okay team around them, but yeah, I mean, if he had to sit for, say, if you got him somehow 3 fouls in the first half or a
mhm.
third foul early in the second half against us a little bit. I mean, their guards are okay, but I mean, they're nothing scary.
No, yeah. And they're of course a 1 seed. We mentioned we
Yeah,
played them earlier in the year.
yeah.
And
They've been a team that's we talked about it. I mean, they've been on the hot seat as far as in the tournament. Last year they lost to the 16 as a one.
mhm,
And now they're trying to do that Virginia thing where you lose the year before and then come back and win the whole tournament.
yeah,
Virginia did it, lost the first 116 ever, and then 19 came back and won the whole thing and beat Texas Tech.
yeah, and
Yeah,
they'll play the winner of this game
the
currently going
winner,
on as we record. NC State and Duke, back and
yeah,
forth game
tied
right
right
now.
now.
A
This
little
is
ACC battle.
what
NC State trying to become an 11 seed, making it to the Final Four, which would match. Was George Mason an 11 seed when they made it, or were they
yeah,
even
they were.
lower?
They were, I think they were around the 11 mark, but they had
Um,
that epic run with, and that's been a long time
yeah,
now. But yeah, I mean they're another team that they had to win it. They had to win the ACC tournament even to get into the tournament. I mean, if they
hmm
had lost any of those games, I mean, 'cause I think where they were 17 and 14 going into the ACC tournament and won five there to get to
hmm
22 wins. They had to beat Duke. They had to beat Carolina. I mean,
and they
they
had to win that tournament to get in too. They weren't getting an auto
yeah.
bid,
No, they weren't
or
getting it in.
an at large. Not
No,
yeah, they had
no.
and
Even after the run that they had lost to Carolina in the championship game, they're not getting in.
hmm
Still, I mean,
uh,
the
see.
ACC just doesn't have the respect level that it did at one point. But
But yeah, so here I actually got it now. Actually, 11 seed is kind of a good luck charm to make the Final Four. One, two, three, four, five different 11 seeds have made it. We got LSU in '86. We mentioned that George Mason team that made that run in
hmm
'06. VCU 2011. We mentioned our
that's
man.
right.
Yeah. Was Anthony Grant with
That
it?
was
No, he
shock.
would. That was Shaka
Uh,
Smart. You're right. That was
that
Shaka.
was
Yeah.
shocker. Yeah.
Uh, and then 2018, Loyola Chicago, of course, Sister Jean.
Yeah.
And then a team we're familiar with, 2021 UCLA, beat
Yeah.
us in the
They
Sweet
beat us in
16
the
that
Sweet
year.
16, and
hmm
they were in that playing game that year.
Yeah.
In Dayton,
hmm
and went all the way from the playing game to the Final Four. And really, they were actually with that one shot. I remember the Gonzaga dude hit a damn almost half court shot to beat them.
hmm
So
Um,
I mean, they almost made a national title game that year.
yeah. So
And
NC State trying to make a lot of history too, and they actually have a
mm-hmm,
4 point
a
lead right now.
4 point lead with about
Uh,
10 minutes left. Oof.
And even this Duke run is a little surprising too.
Yeah,
Kind of similar to
yeah.
ours. Not a Cinderella run by any team, but a team with
No,
talent. Obviously, a talented team that's finally
you don't know
clicking. It
what you're
seems
gonna
like,
get.
yeah,
Yeah, because I
um,
mean, when we talked about a couple episodes ago. I mean, they just since they've changed their formula and gone everybody kind of an McDonald's All American type player, and they've
hmm
kind of lost the edge that made Duke Duke.
hmm
I don't. I mean, I think people still dislike Duke, but I don't think that hatred for Duke is there as much as it was at one point.
no, not since Coach K
It
left,
doesn't seem
especially,
like it.
yeah.
It doesn't seem like it. And they don't have a player like we had talked about. There's not a player that you hate, that people hate. People hated JJ Redick.
Mm.
People hated Paulus.
hated
Um,
Christian Leitner way back in the day. I mean, hell, there's a whole
mhm,
ESPN 30 for 30 called "I Hate Christian
yeah,
Leitner."
yeah,
Yeah, but yeah, you mentioned the guys through the years. Every Duke team had that one guy that just pissed off other fans and
yeah.
opponents.
Yeah.
The Greg Paulus is the
Back in the day, I'm sure Bobby Hurley was that guy at one
Bobby
point.
Hurley. Yeah, Bobby Hurley. Cherokee Parks kind of took that mantle in the mid '90s for a little
Yeah.
bit. Mentioned JJ Redick. You had guys.
Grayson Allen.
That's who I'm trying to think of. I was like, there's a guy that's kind of playing well in the pros right now. Grayson Allen was that
Yeah,
dude. He was kind of the last
yeah,
one, really.
yeah.
Um, this
They
this
kind of,
Filipowski kid kind of has it. He's got his little tripping and stomping things.
yeah, but I don't. It's not to the.
It's not to
It's
that
not to
level,
the
no.
extent. I don't know. No, no one hates Filipowski like they hated
Hmm.
those guys. I
No, but
mean, uh, but I mean, yeah, they're on their own little one there. Because honestly, I didn't think that this was a Duke team that can get to this level. One of my I did it with two or three brackets. One of them I thought, man, they could lose to Vermont, and Vermont gave them a game, and they turned it up
hmm
to a different level after that. I mean, that second round matchup, they throttled. Man, I can't even think who they played in that second round, but it was James Madison.
it
I mean,
was
James
James Madison,
Madison.
the Dukes. Yeah, they
Yeah,
beat them by damn near 40.
yeah. And that was a good James Madison team. I mean, they had just come off the 5-12 game themselves. Um, um, yeah. So, I mean,
Yeah.
this Duke team, I mean, they're one. And that just shows you the difference. I mean, if Duke wins this game, I mean, it's their 18th Final Four.
Mm,
I mean,
ridiculous.
Jesus.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, so what? Purdue's first since the '80s. Did I see that right?
Yeah,
Uh,
I think
this would be NC State's first since I think '86.
since
The Jimmy V years.
that was
Uh,
83.
the title, yeah, but I think I saw
Oh,
something
did
that they
they
made
make
a
another one?
Yeah, they made another one a
Oh,
few
okay.
years
Maybe
later.
Final Four, okay. But yeah, I always
Actually, I
think
think
about
if I want to
83.
remember right, it might have been 80. Yeah, 83 is when they won it. I think I saw 86 earlier, which is always a year
Okay.
my dad points out as another disappointing Alabama team that should have made it. I think they lost to Providence in the Sweet 16, if I'm right, coached by a guy named Rick Pitino. Um,
Hmm. What
my
happened to
dad
that
always,
guy? No.
yeah, right. Getting shafted by the NCAA, if you ask him. Uh,
Mm, yeah.
State has opened up an 8-point lead now.
Mm,
I will say that would be if State does hold on to win this. They got a big dude who's a unit out there. He's not a slim dude. Him versus Edie
no.
might be a battle.
That might be yeah, that would be fun to watch.
Hmm.
Because, I mean, he's going to stand his ground. I mean, he's
Hmm.
not going to punk him out at all.
No.
And, definitely, not a basketball build at all. I mean, just with how he's built. I mean, he's 6'8", but 280. I mean, he's I would say, a more talented version of, remember Robert Tractor Trailer in Michigan? He's the same kind of build there, but probably a more talented guy. I mean, I mean, he's been in college. I think he came in to the ACC with like, I think he came in the same time as like Zion Williamson. So I mean, he's evolved
Mm.
into what he is now. So I mean, he's been in there. He's been there for a while, and became I think for many a household favorite this tournament for sure.
Yeah. And the Wolfpack trying to do a very rare thing. Trying to get to the Final Four on both the men's and the women's side.
Yeah,
Their women's team beat Texas earlier today.
beat him pretty handily.
Yeah, and they will face now. Granted, they're coming up against their own buzzsaw. They will face South Carolina in,
Oh,
in
yeah,
their semifinal game. So
yeah.
South Carolina uh, pretty easily beat Oregon State earlier too.
Yeah. I mean, it was close for a little bit, but yeah, they turned it in the final like 5 minutes. I mean, they took it to a different level.
Yeah, it's a feat that's actually happened a decent amount of times.
Yeah, we know. I think the UConn men and women, I think, won in the same year.
Yeah, so looking at this list, starting back, Georgia did it in '83. Both the men's and women's made the Final
Final
Four, and
four.
then Duke in '99,
Mm-hmm.
Oklahoma in '02, Texas '03, UConn '04, Michigan State '05, LSU '06. UConn did it three more times in '09, '11, and '14.
Jeez,
Uh, Louisville
showing
did
off.
it in 2013 when Louisville was like the best athletic department in the world. They had the
Yeah.
men's national title. Their women's team made the Final
Mm-hmm.
Four. Their baseball team made the College World Series.
Mm.
I think their softball team went on a big run. Their football team won the Sugar Bowl that year. That was the Teddy Bridgewater
Yeah,
years.
they blew out
Uh,
Florida, didn't they?
And they Louisville was just on fire that year. That's actually around the
Yeah.
time I lived in Louisville. So yeah, that was
Oh, yeah, they loved it.
uh,
I know
oh
they
yeah,
did.
big time. And then we got two more. Syracuse did it in 16, and then South Carolina did it
Oh,
in
okay.
17.
That's right. I've almost forgot
s-
about that weird
mhm.
South Carolina men's run.
Yeah. That kind of yeah. We know Dawn Staley's doing it. She's what? This is their what third, fourth straight Final Four. Uh,
Yeah, I mean they live in the Final Four.
yeah.
Um,
Um,
but
but so yeah, crazy right now. What about 8 minutes left in the game, an 8 point lead.
NC State up 8.
Yep.
Man,
Oh, but yeah. So we mentioned it's just a great time of year. It's
yeah,
been it's even better when your team actually does it, gets to the Final Four.
yeah,
It's just so
does it?
special.
It's an
Um,
amazing feeling.
I'm gonna give everybody listening advice that was given to me a long time ago. Buy up all the merch you can. T-shirts, little. I saw someone on Twitter asking her. It might have been sometimes contributor Brian Olio, who has a piece out in the Alabama Take today too about his
I
fandom
saw
and
that. That
connection.
was
Yeah,
great.
it's a
Yeah.
good piece. Yeah, should go give that a read, folks. But I think he mentioned, I think it was him, that Pizza Hut should bring back their little mini Final Four balls they used to do.
Man, yeah, those balls were awesome.
Uh-huh. Yeah, give me a basketball with the Alabama logo on it with the Final Four logo.
Oh,
That's oh man.
sweet.
Oh, technical here for the NC State bench. All right. That could be a turning point here.
Yeah,
Two free points there in possession.
possession. We'll see.
Uh well yeah, yeah, you have anything else to add on any the tournaments? Oh wait, no, I got
No,
something.
it's just
Uh to my Auburn fan friends here, you guys just got to let it go. Uh I've seen a lot of posts online, a lot of social media stuff. Auburn fans, oh well, this is an easy run, or oh, it's your athletic director got you a good draw, and this and
Mhm.
that. And look, maybe the draw is not the hardest draw in the world, but that's what this tournament happens, man. It's life in
We
the
still had to
tournament.
beat the number one seed in the Sweet 16. I
You
mean, it was a
still had
good
to
Carolina
a,
team.
still had to beat a red hot Clemson team.
Yeah.
Look, that's just the way it is, and
Hmm.
now you have to give up another thing that you thought you had over us. Now, no
Yeah.
more. Well, you never made a
No,
Final
we
Four
will.
talk. Well,
No, no, now we have.
and now we have, and you also had your coach saying "Roll Tide" on national TV. So
Yep.
I hate to
And
see
Charles
it for you.
Barkley continues to say it.
Yeah. Oh, Chuck just hey, Chuck gives respect when respect's due. He knows.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Oh,
but
big three there. Wow.
oh, oh, you might. Oh, I think yeah, you're about a second ahead of me because I just saw it. Yeah, Duke did not take advantage of that technical possession.
No.
It
Big
is not.
three right there. Go up 9.
Yeah.
And that,
Um.
and that NC State crap. That NC State. And that's the thing. In these tournament games, if there's any in a just neutral, somewhat of a site. I mean, anybody that's just there definitely jumps on that lower seeds bandwagon
Hmm.
and just
Yeah, and this one's what in Dallas right now. So
Dallas.
yeah, I'm
Yeah,
sure there's no love for
anybody
Duke
that's
there.
just
Yeah.
no, so anybody that's just there, definitely feeling the Wolfpack's run and getting behind them.
Um. But yeah, it's been great, and one more weekend to go, and then you get a little sad that it's
Yeah.
over. But uh,
Some will never forget.
no, no, um, exactly. It's that special because you never know when it'll happen again. Because
Yeah.
you got to get hot at the right time. It's not just about being a good
Hmm.
team; it's about being knowing when to turn it on. Um,
Oh, exactly.
yeah. How have your brackets held up? Mine are just dead. They're just.
Trash. I mean, they've been. Let me tell you. So we did a family bracket this year.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just say my 9-year-old son who doesn't watch, he'll sit in the room with me and basically talk to me the whole time about anything other than basketball. Is in first place right now. That just shows you, like 85%. Yeah. So that just
um,
kind of shows you where the brackets have gone for me this year. So
yeah.
I'm
Uh,
gonna lose to the whole family, wife, daughter, son. Yeah, I'm sitting in last place. No big deal.
let's see. Right now, yeah, mine was dead. Oh man, a while ago.
I
But
mean,
officially,
yeah,
mine
mine.
was. I at least still had all my Final Four teams coming into this
Hmm.
weekend, and then Arizona lost. And I was like, all right, well, lost
Yeah.
them, and then Houston lost. I was like, oh shit, well there
Hmm.
goes that. But I still
Yeah.
had
I think
UConn. I
UConn's
got
my only
UConn
Final
in,
Four.
yeah, and I
UConn's my
actually
only
had,
Final Four team.
yeah, me too, because I had Tennessee going over Purdue, and
I
that didn't
did.
happen.
Yeah.
So looking at the Alabama the taking on sports bracket challenge right now, a
Hmm.
man, let's see who elect to kick ass. Don't know who that is. Is currently in the lead, but they had Houston as their champ, so uh, not
Wasn't
going to
that
happen
far
for
from them,
them.
but yeah.
Um,
And that was, that was a tough win for Houston. Talk about Houston. I mean,
mhm,
your star player, uh, ankle injury, sat out most of the second half there. And, Duke won by 4 there. I mean, if Shed plays, Houston's probably playing today.
mhm. Yeah, it's tough.
It's a tough out.
We do have though our buddy Nate Barfield, second place right now, and he's got
Look at
Purdue as
Nate.
his champ. So,
Hmm.
um, and he's got Purdue over UConn in the title game, so he can get those
Oh,
points too.
wow. Yeah, he
Uh,
gets all that.
and then way down there, very interesting, but old Caleb Johnson, we made fun of him last week because he was damn near last place, but homer that he is has Alabama as his national champion. So
All right.
he could actually turn around and get some points here if
Nice.
things go right for him.
Nice.
Uh,
That's funny.
but say, oh, there's a new little feature here. You can forecast it. Oh, let's see. So if
Oh, the likelihood of winning.
yeah,
Yeah, I
if
saw that.
let's see, if UConn wins the title, someone named $15 Pretzel at Coleman uh will win it. If Purdue wins the title, it is old Nate Barfield that will win it.
Man,
If Alabama wins the title, indeed it would be old Caleb Johnson winning.
look at that.
If Duke wins the title, it would also more than likely be Nate, depending on I think who makes a title game and all that.
Oh,
And if NC State wins it, it says Nate's got a 65% chance to win if Duke wins it, and same thing as NC State. So,
wow.
old buddy Nate might be cutting
Getting
down the
a
proverbial
shirt.
nets. Yeah, getting a shirt. Uh,
Uh, Probably the toughest competition out there.
yeah.
As far as the group, group to be.
And on the women's side of things, I see, of course, the stare down doing that challenge. You were doing hot for a
I
while.
was doing good, and then I
Uh,
lost after I had UCLA going to the Final Four.
mhm,
That didn't work out. They ran into a LSU team. I should have known that that wasn't going to happen because, of course, no matter what, everybody wanted to get the Kaylin Clark,
mhm,
the Iowa LSU rematch, and then, of course, we'll see that tomorrow night, Elite Eight,
mhm.
for a trip to the Final Four. I mean, of course, where would we be without that matchup again, right? Should have
Mm-hmm.
known that was a guaranteed to happen there.
Uh, yeah, I have come back in this.
Yeah,
I'm
because I
now in
think I had
third
Texas. I
place.
think I
Yeah,
had Texas in the Final Four too. So
I had Stanford in that bracket, but I did have Iowa. I have Iowa. Um, I had South Carolina, of course. I think everyone had South Carolina at
I don't
least
think
in the
anybody
Final
has.
Four. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think anybody thought they would lose prior to.
Let's see. Looking at the forecast here, if South Carolina wins the title, it would be someone Coach Deb. She has an 84% chance she would take it.
Who's
If I
Coach Deb? No.
uh,
Who are these people? No.
if Iowa wins the title, Mr. Blaine Duncan has a 77 percent
Oh
chance to
wow.
win the thing. He would need he needs Iowa to win it all, obviously, and I'll tell you what this matchup hinges on tomorrow is UConn USC. That's the big one because if Iowa wins the title, I have USC beating UConn to get to the Final Four, so I need USC to win tomorrow night, and then I might actually have a chance to win this.
Look at that.
Get myself a stare down shirt. There you
Oh
go.
man.
uh, but yeah, so that'll be interesting. Let's see if USC wins it. Oh, someone named Trich 27. Oh, actually, that's a toss up between them and someone else. I don't think anyone picked LSU to win it. No one picked LSU to win
Hmm.
the title.
Interesting.
One person named Hottie Toddy Lady picked UConn to win it. So if they come through and win, she comes down from ninth place to win it. Ooh,
I'm
interesting.
assuming that's who is that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but yeah, you mentioned that
I'm
game.
assuming that's Mal, right? Out
No,
of title.
no, she is actually. If I'm right, I think
Oh, I
Mal is.
thought for sure she would have been Hattie Tatty lady.
No, I think she's actually Rebel in Bama. If I'm not mistaken.
That yeah, you're
Yeah,
right. Yeah, but I saw that. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Okay, that
because she
makes sense.
does indeed live in Bama. How far does she at Ole Miss go? And I wonder how much. Where's Ole Miss? Oh, she had them making the Elite Eight, losing to South Carolina. Okay, so
Wow.
but so what they made the second round. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, you mentioned, of course, tomorrow night's the big one. LSU, Iowa, Caitlin Clark, a chance for revenge. LSU, a chance for a second straight Final Four. Of course, the Kim Mulkey
Yeah.
Washington Post thing came out.
It wasn't.
It
Eh.
wasn't. Yeah, she made it out to be more that it was. It's a good profile. I will say that as a journalism major, it
Yeah.
was a good profile, like a good piece of writing, just solid journalism. Detailed her kind of falling out with some family and former players, but it
Nothing
wasn't.
shocking.
No, yeah, it wasn't like, oh, she
I
used to
mean, it's
punch players in the locker room.
yeah. I mean, it's kind of. I don't know. I kind of. I thought that was all stuff that people knew.
Yeah, it turns out though
I
over
mean,
the
if you
weekend.
follow.
Well, it turns out the bad piece came from an LA Times writer that
Yeah.
for the LSU UCLA preview he did. Very weird writing, calling uh, LSU players what they call them devil debutantes, and it's a really weird piece of bad
Yeah.
writing. So that's who she should get mad at.
Yeah, because that was
Yeah.
a way different than
Mhm.
the Washington Post piece. I
But
mean that seemed pretty. I don't know. I didn't think it was anything crazy there.
mm-mm.
But it seemed. I don't know. Maybe it was something to fire up the squad, the team. So
Exactly, yeah, kind
they're
of
playing.
rally them
They're
around
playing
you.
good ball there because there's also the talk about that she supposedly said bad things about Angel Reese.
Mhm.
So but who knows? And
Yeah,
she's a character herself. Kemoki is. But she's a winner everywhere she goes. I mean, she was the lead at Baylor, has
Mhm.
LSU back in prominence, almost to their second straight Final Four, and just her second year in Baton Rouge. So, I mean, she knows how to win.
yeah. Like I said, that'll be just a heavyweight
Yeah,
fight Monday night. And right now,
Another
NC
epic win
State,
for the women's game.
right? Yeah, getting that kind of solo
Publicity and
spot
numbers.
that showcase. Yeah, they'll
Yeah, the numbers are going to be elite tomorrow night.
hmm And as we speak, NC State pulling away from Duke here, up
Yeah, they
12 with
are.
right under 4 minutes to go.
Yeah, and that's
Blue
kind of how
Devils
they've
need a
done
miracle.
everybody. Yeah,
Hmm
but that's how NC State's done everybody recently. I mean, they've had some close games and then put it away late, and that's been their MO. And they seem to be just an epic run there for the Wolfpack. As we said, if they make it, so I mean, we have NC State and NC State Purdue. I mean,
hmm
yeah, but that inside battle, I mean, that'll be fun to watch when it comes down to that.
Yeah,
Just to see what he
that's what
does with Edie. Wow.
all eyes on that. Real quick, elsewhere around the sports world, of course, it was opening week in Major League
Yeah.
Baseball. Looks like Juan Soto making himself comfortable there in pinstripes.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a good weekend.
Braves,
Or
my Braves took 2 or 3 from the Phillies. Always good to start the season off with a
maybe
series win. The Orioles look like they're gonna uh, just
do good again.
be a beast again. You know, that trade for Corbin Burns or picking him up was huge for them.
Mm-hmm.
Great performance for him to start opening day. Yeah, so it's a fun time for sports. Um, hoping my fantasy baseball team holds on for the first win of the year. Uh, NBA, we mentioned, it's that time they kind of holding pattern. Teams are just jockeying position. We mentioned in the West, kind of, we're like, the teams are kind of set. It's just about where you're going. But the
Mm-hmm.
Houston Rockets, of all teams,
Man, they're on the heater.
on a heater, trying to make a run at the Warriors of that last
Mm-hmm.
play-in spot.
Interesting.
I'm trying to pull up the standings right here to see. Oh, big defensive play by Duke right there. Are they going to call it goaltending? Nope. Houston is only a game behind Golden State right now.
Yep.
So that youth movement in Houston there may be that
Yeah,
would be huge for them to get into
we
that
play
play
uh,
in.
we play Houston. We play Houston tonight. The Mavericks
Oh,
do.
that looked like a good block.
We play them tonight. Yeah, that did. That definitely didn't look like goaltending. I'm
Uh-uh.
some they turn this one.
Yeah,
But
but
yeah, I mean they're
you're
playing good ball.
Mhm.
And then we got two crucial wins on the road, both games going in. Beat Sacramento twice in a week. I mean
Mhm. Oh,
that's
huge. Y'all
what we
won.
needed.
Dallas has won 6 in a row, 9 of their last 10, and they are
Yeah.
now a game and a half above Phoenix for that 6th seed. So that's,
hmm
what
So
we've talked about
exactly.
all year, especially for our two
You don't
teams.
want, yeah,
Yeah,
don't
get
want to
out
be
of
in the
that
play-in.
play-in. Get out
Get
of
out
that
of, yeah,
play-in.
for sure.
And even the Pelicans, even and the Mavericks too, close the gap on the Clippers.
hmm
Pelicans only game and a half. Dallas only 2 behind the Clippers for that 4 seed in
Yep.
first round home court advantage. So,
And that'd be
um,
huge.
and
And I
just
like it too.
mhm,
It seems like ever since the trade deadline, I mean, we made some trades, and everybody came in. Seems to found we've turned it around. I mean, we've since the trade deadline, we've been putting up numbers, just
mhm.
winning games, and found the inside presence is decent. And I'm excited. I'm much more excited this time than I was last year for the Mariners. I don't know. I don't think we'll win the championship, but I think we'll make some noise.
But yeah, just it's you got to get a guy like Luca in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Just like the Pelicans,
Luka,
you got to get Zion in the
Kyrie. I
playoffs.
mean,
Like yeah,
yeah. At
um,
that point, you never know.
yeah. Uh, NFL, nothing really major going on there.
Mhm.
They did announce the new kickoff rule.
They, yeah,
Um,
they did that in the drop tackle rule.
yeah,
But
yeah, ban the hip drop tackle, and then going to adopt the XFL style kickoff, where the two teams line up like 10 yards from each other, don't move
yeah,
until the receiver catches the ball. Um,
I
very
mean,
supposed to cut down on injuries. It'll definitely take getting
Or
used to
the,
for people.
yeah. I mean, I don't know. It seems like a lot of kickoffs go out the back of the end zone anyway.
Yeah, today's kickers are just too good. Just booming it.
Yeah, they. I mean, I don't know what it'll change. I mean, I don't know, but I guess the biggest thing is what is it? I guess does that pretty much eliminate onside kicks then?
No, they said that teams have so it does eliminate surprise onside kicks, which
Because they got
rare in the pro game, more of a college thing. Of
right.
course, the most famous one, the Saints, to start the second half in their Super Bowl win over the Colts. But
Yeah, that changed the game.
no, they say that if you want to do an onside kick, you have to tell the rest
You
beforehand,
gotta
and then
announce
and
it.
then they line up in the classic formation, and you go
Yeah.
after it there. Um,
So nothing too much change. I mean, obviously
no,
we
yeah,
know when teams are gonna run it. So okay.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
just waiting for the draft. We've been talking about that for a
Yeah.
while. At the end of next month, there, about a month from now. Um, but yeah, I think that's.
And then
Go ahead.
yeah. Mm. No, I was gonna say, and then with it, just real quick with that drop tackle thing. I mean, it's gonna be hard to call. I mean, you would have to
Hmm.
think if it's something egregious. I mean, it's gonna be a judgment call. I mean, some days you're gonna be pissed off at that rule. I think, but
Yeah, I think I saw you post something on this week about that technically would have been a penalty in the Rams Titans Super Bowl
Rams,
from back.
yeah,
Yeah.
when you got him at the one,
Hmm.
can you imagine that getting a flag on
Crazy,
on something like
crazy.
that in that type of a game?
Yeah, but again, it's one of those
First and
things
goal
you
from the one.
you
It's a
understand why they
judgment
do it
call.
because it can result in injuries. Of course,
Yeah,
the Ravens lost Mark Andrews this year for a while
yeah.
because of a hit drop, but
And I mean, that's why we lost Tony Pollard in the playoffs against the
yeah.
49ers. But, it's a judgment call, so it's hard to call. I mean, we'll see how much it actually gets called or how much of an effect that'll have in the game. It sounds terrible now. Probably won't be near as bad as we think it'll be, but we'll see.
But yeah, anything else you wanted to touch on?
No, just a beautiful, beautiful weekend.
Yeah, I was gonna say for a second straight week, I think we can agree on what's done up real good. It's Alabama going to the Final Four, man.
Yeah,
Uh,
and it is.
something like we said, something we
Just,
thought we'd never see,
yeah,
especially after we talked about last year, a team all that talent, the potential. Brandon Miller, you're like, man, if we don't make it
yeah.
this year, then when is our
Who
time?
knows?
Yeah,
Yeah,
but lo and
who
behold,
knows?
Mark
Yeah,
Sears is that dude.
here we are.
Uh,
Is that dude?
um,
Man,
and
just epic.
yeah, it's gonna be weird.
Yeah,
It's gonna be a little weird to tune into the Final Four next Saturday and see our guys
and
playing.
we're there. Yeah,
Uh
we're there. Yeah,
huh.
it
Bring it on,
is.
UConn. Let's go.
Yeah,
But that does it for us. As always, folks, thanks for listening. Do subscribe, give us good ratings, tell your friends about us, tell your rich friends about us. Look for some redesigns to the alabamatech.com coming soon. Blaine's been at work this week, finding a new host, trying to redesign, make things a little more streamlined there. It'll make it easier for y'all to catch all our podcast here. I know this is a big week for the Alabama Slam podcast as we head into WrestleMania week.
WrestleMania.
Huge weekend. Always love that weekend on the calendar. You get,
Yeah,
well, it used to be, Final Four games Saturday night and WrestleMania Sunday, then title game Monday, but now WrestleMania 2 nights. You got
2 days. Yeah,
so much going on now.
obviously I'm gonna have to watch Saturday one on a replay.
Yeah, you're gonna have to watch that later. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, but so a huge week for them too. Be sure to give
Oh
those
man,
guys a listen. I'm sure they're
yeah.
gonna have a big preview coming
Big
up
preview. Yeah.
this week. But yeah, check out all the podcasts in the Alabama family, Alabama Take family. Check out the alabamatake.com. Keep it done up real good yourselves out there. To all of our fellow Bama fans, roll tide, baby. Enjoy it.
Time.
Enjoy it. And
Yes, sir.
Greg, I will talk to you next week, man.
Yes, sir.
All right, later.
So,